This is Omar Ahmed for RAFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. With me is the power man himself, Mr. KALLE SAUERLAND.
How are you? I'm very pleased that the introduction has been changed to the Power Man. That's fantastic. I've heard of the Iron Man, but now I'll tell my son that I'm the Power Man. I like that, Umar. That beats Coogan on creativity.
Yeah, my day's good, thank you, because we're here at the wonderful Wasserman offices. You've just done
AKA the Tower of Power.
That's the one, of course, and just done a tour of the place, and you can see why big things are happening.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Wasserman in sport. The Wasserman Group in sport stands for the best. It represents so many top athletes from the 100 Premier League footballs I always like to mention in every conversation I have about them, but of course so many other sports. I mean, the business was actually based on the NBA, where they represent a huge amount of NBA talent across the pond. And it's the biggest agency on planet Earth, the biggest sports company on planet Earth. So when you join the team and you come with a fresh sport, and when I say fresh sport, they've done sort of advisory management roles for some great boxers already. Most prolifically George Groves or Anthony Ogogo, who we were promoting as well, both of them. That's how we also met Wasserman. But when you see now the dynamics in that little tour we just did, you can see why 1,200 employees, and that's firepower. Those are the people who are dedicated in making the biggest athletes even bigger and bringing athletes through. And in boxing, sometimes we get to a level and then it stops. And this is about trying to go to that extra level, and it's something that we're committed to doing. And you saw today at the media day the effect of the first 6 months. That's a more than stellar boutique stable in the UK now, and that goes together hand in hand with our stables in the rest of the world. We have shows coming up. We had one in Austria at the weekend. We got a show coming up on October the 2nd at Wembley on Sky, which is going to be a fantastic night of boxing, and then it goes on from there to Latvia with Myris Bridis defending his world championship first fight since winning the World Boxing Super Series. Then it goes on from there to Norway, to Germany, back to the UK in December. So it's but we need this infrastructure to make that even bigger, and that's exciting. And you've seen in such a short space of time the amount of UK clients who've joined the team, boxers who've joined the team, and that's great. And we're not out to sign a huge quantity. So I think the critical mass has been reached, but of course we want to add to that as well in certain boxes, but we will always be looking quality before quantity.
Kalle, before we talk about the major new signings that you revealed to us today, just want to clarify, in terms of the Sky deal, what does that actually include for Wasserman?
So I mean, it's a contract. So I can't go into too many details on it, but we're working together with Boxer on Sky, where we have certain dates which we are co-promoting. Those include free-to-air dates. Those include pay-per-view dates, and it's going to be an exciting, I'm sure, a very exciting partnership. And I think that boxing at the moment is in such an exciting place when you look at it as a content provider, because everyone who's in the business has to sort of up their game, because there's all the new boys coming into town, and it seems to me every month, I mean, people who say it's every day is a bit exaggerating a bit, but then every month there seems to be some new platform. Think alone this year, what we've seen DAZN go global, we've seen Triller turning up, and you see these big organizations putting more and more backing into boxing, and that's fantastic, from everything from promoters down to grassroots, down to everything, and that's absolutely brilliant for the whole industry.
With the additions of Josh Kelly, Nathan Gorman, Harlem Eubank, added to your stellar stable already. Where does that, in your opinion, put you in the UK in terms of the other promoters?
Yeah, people would. Someone else, a journalist, just asked me, "What ranking do you give yourself?" I don't rank myself. I don't rank myself. I'm always my number one, and my mum always tells me I'm number one, so that's good for me. No, I don't. I don't look at it like that. I look at it in terms of what big fights I can put on. What fighters have we signed that we can take to the top? Is it Razor Ali or Chloe Watson? Matty Harris, Hosea or Stewart or another heavyweight who's starting out. Those are the ones I can't wait to go on a journey. I'm excited about that. Then there's other ones who already, they're sort of 10-0 and plus. Let's say put them in a different category. So obviously we've got Josh Kelly. How exciting is that? Mm-hmm. I mean, he was the golden boy of Sky. Yeah, he lost the fight. It can happen. For whatever reason that was.
To a world-class fighter.
To a world-class fighter, but it goes on. It was a setback at very early degrees. He's a very young guy in his 12th or 13th professional fight. So, there was a massive amount of push for Josh, and that's why when we started discussing, I was like, he's really available? Wow. That's someone that, there's a reason why Sky puts so much time and effort into him, and the people at Sky, Adam, Johnny, the whole team there, they're boxing experts. They know what they're pushing and what boxes they're pushing, and with Josh Kelly, I think they made a right choice. And you have setbacks, but we've had him at the highest level in our stable in the past, and you get through them, and he will still be a world champion. He's certainly young enough to go the way, but it's excitement all around. I mean, Linus Adofia this week announced as British title challenger to Felix Cash. Eubank Jr. Headlining October 2nd in a fight I know people think Sven Elby, this, that, and the other. Listen, the guy is 18-1. He's in the top 15 of the world rankings. We all know that Junior has had a horrible year personally. I'm not going to go into it, but that we know that this fight is going to be a challenge in itself mentally. So that's already a battle. So it's a real serious fight we have on October 2nd, and we've got to get through that because we're negotiating with some big fights already beyond that. So my mind is already past there, but I'm very conscious of the fact that on October 2nd, which is a cracking card, by the way, it's an absolutely cracking 10-fight card, and there's some fantastic boxers from Boxer on there. There's some fantastic boxers from us on there, and I'm looking forward to a great night of boxing at Wembley Arena, but with a crowd, which is fantastic as well. But it's about the future. How can we take a Chloe Watson through? How can we bring her to the top? How can we move these fighters? Brad Pauls, who I just smelt of today of excitement coming off him. Can't wait to box again, and he's a very exciting talent. So it's I would say we're in a phase of excitement, which is turning into we're going to turn to some real great events this year.
Well, let's talk about Eubank Jr. He just went on a record to me and said, I will obliterate Billy Joe Saunders.
I know you'd want to talk about Billy Joe.
Of course.
I've got a list about 7 fighters, but everyone wants to talk about Billy Joe. No, listen, that's a great fight, I think, and I will neutralise matters because I'm a promoter and I'm just trying to put a fight together. They have a very personal grudge with each other. That's evident. And that's a grudge that people want to see. After Fury Joshua, there's no bigger fight to be made in the UK at the moment. 0. And that, I think, every promoter would agree with me, even if they had no vested interest in it. I think you'd come hard to show me a bigger fight right now, domestically. Now, that's a fight that I think can and I think will be made for the simple reason they both want it. And yeah, there's some crazy numbers flying around, and if I look at it, I think it's a fight that does really well commercially as well. I think it's for me, it's definitely a stadium fight, and it's definitely a fight that would attract a large box office. It would be a blockbuster, let's say.
£5 million.
It's a big number. But Billy Joe knows it. Billy's a good guy. I'm sure he knows that there's a big number. But could it get there? I don't know. That's a question that we'd have to look at and see how big a fight we can make that fight. But right now, that's I think that's definitely one for next year. I think it would be too quick for December as well. And there's other ones out there. We look at the situation at the WBA with Lara, and there's also the situation with Murata. Is he boxing Golovkin? Is he not boxing Golovkin? We've got another domestic fight out there, which also a lot of people are licking their lips at, is Liam Williams. So there's lots out there. I mean, if I look at Liam Williams and Eubank, they've been going back and forth over the last year and a half. It was one of the lockdown, beefs, and that stylistically is a great fight as well. Andrade, fantastic fight, fantastic fight. But so the options are there. It's about guiding the ship now through those waters.
Have you discussed that with MTK or Frank Warren at all, that Liam Williams fight?
Liam Williams is in discussions, and it's also a fight that I think, like I just said, I think it's a great fight to make. If we get it made, I'm confident we can. And then we'll looking at other fights as well at the same time. We have to plan it a little bit at the moment in terms of, where does the journey end up? Because Junior's very clear on one thing. He wants that world title. So a Williams or a Saunders fight, right now they don't deliver a world title. But at the same time, would they be popular fights? Absolutely. Absolutely. The build-up would be massive, and we mustn't forget, there's a certain family member, i.e. his father, who built his legacy, as did Nigel, as did Michael, in that era, and this is Steve. That wasn't about world title fights. That was about bad blood between them. And you can smell when there's beef between fighters, and there's and then you've got the sort of animosity when there's one foreign guy coming in, and there's domestic fighter, a British fighter, and then they have beef in fight week, and afterwards they're hugging and kissing. There's a difference when you have an ongoing domestic feud, and those sort of fights are, Junior, as Senior did back in his day, he's Marmite. There's not much in the middle there. Yeah? You either love him or hate him, and he sparks that in people, and that clearly is Billy and him go back over time, and Liam as well. In recent times, they've all So those are fights that interest me to promote as a promoter.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't think you'd say otherwise, Kalle.
Yeah, no, I mean the worst times is when you sit there as a promoter at the press conference, you think, right, what the hell am I going to say today, apart from how great this guy and how great that guy, and they're both sitting there going, yeah, respect to the opponent. I mean, it's good, and we should have always that element in sport, but I do like a bit of competitiveness at a press conference, and not sort of, we'll see who wins on the night, that sort of thing, and that I can assure you, with both a Williams or a Saunders fight, you ain't gonna get. It's that sort of build up, and I've been there and done that before with Junior in the World Boxing Series, obviously with Groves, but he's also had that big win over James DeGale, and he's been, he's done that in his own right already, in terms of. He knows boxing in and out. You mustn't forget, he grew up in that boxing household, and it's so there's a lot of great options on the table, and we got to make the best of it.
We don't mind the odd table flying on IFL as well.
Well, I do, because the last time a table flew, it was right next to my ear. I almost got shaved from Del Boy off it. It was sitting right next to me. So, no, the tables, we always make sure they're pinned down since that press conference.
Just might be a lot of beeping.
Yeah, the beeping part is something that, I mean, yeah, I promoted Del for quite a few years, so I'm used to the beeping part.
Kalle, there's been strong rumours about Khan v Brook potentially happening, so it's gone a bit quiet on the Eubank Brook front. Has there been any developments?
No, I mean, we spoke to the Brook people. My brother took a conversation with them, and they didn't come back. So I guess that's the reason they're not coming back. They're focused on that. That's cool. It's a nice fight. I think it'll always be a good fight to make. Let's not beat around the bush. It's always a fight that interests people. I think it's obviously a few years since it was supposed to be the fight, but at the same time, it's a fight that I think with the right promotion, you can sort of wind back the years, sort of thing. Yeah, and it's I've got no idea sporting wise where they are, the level wise where they are these days, which sort of makes it intriguing in itself. I mean, you've heard about that fight being made and not made, and then it's on one network, then it's on another network, but at the end, it will always be an intriguing fight.
Still speaking to Tom Laughlin, Gennady Golovkin's people?
Yeah, I mean, spoken to mainly to his lawyer as well, but it's not a discussion at the moment that really requires to be aggressively discussing it, because at the moment they are due to fight Murata, as I understand it, which is a fight which is first of all very good fight, but it's under question, of course. At the moment they've got huge problems in Japan with COVID, and it is supposed to be taking place there. So I don't know. It's not my business. I'm not going to comment on it. But of course, that's that's a name that and it makes sense. And listen, Golovkin called out Junior after his last fight. So the respect or the love is both ways. That's where you want to put it. So if Golovkin's calling you out, you pay attention to it, or you're going to run away. Yeah? And Eubank Junior is certainly not running away. He's certainly running right in the direction of it. So it's a cracking fight, and once again, it's one that I'll be confident of making next year.
Okay, well, we hope so. Let's talk about the boxing on the weekend. There was quite a lot. We'll start with your man Filip Hrgović back in the ring with a win. Where are we with this Martin Bakole IBF situation?
I mean, first of all, the situation here, he mentioned Bakole, and I think I've mentioned Bakole in the past because we try to make Bakole, but Bakole's number 15 on the rankings at the moment. He's boxing this week, so I've got no idea where they'll elevate him to. That's not in our hands. I know that they wanted to tune up, and then they said they would take the fight. So that's already 1 in 15 at least that have said yes. So if it goes down to Martin, then at least we know, hopefully we can make a deal with him. If not, it goes to a purse bid, and that's the way it is. But it's at least someone who wants to fight. I do truly believe, despite my back and forth with Billy, his trainer, I do believe they want that fight. I thought it was a bit weird that they said, "Oh, now I need to tune up and whatever," but I do believe that they want that fight, because we hadn't signed, but we were in final negotiations, let's say, to make that fight for March this year, before we got the letters from the IBF saying final eliminator. It was like literally we'd almost closed the deal, and then boom, these IBF letters arrived, and of course then you say, well, one fight until anti-Joshua, let's do it. Yeah? And then we went through that list, and the rest is, every single one on that list, every single one.
Well, yeah, we discussed it on the...
Don't need to name and shame, just go down that list.
We discussed it on the Zoom the other day. I do also want to ask you about the show on Friday night that Top Rank put on. We saw Oscar Valdez box, and it was a very controversial decision. Obviously, he did fail for a substance that was on a banned list, but the commission still granted him to box. What do you think about that, Kalle?
Well, if it's on a banned list and you're taking it, you're foolish. That's where it starts with. You then need to look at what it is as well to make a sort of moralistic comment on it, let's say. Yeah. Now, apparently that stuff was used to cut weight. Yeah. So Okay, it's banned, so he shouldn't be able to box. That's as simple as it gets, because you need to have black and whites on doping. If it's on the list, it's off. And if you're taking it, it's on the list. Then report it before, then say, by the way, I'm taking this stuff, and I'm taking it for this reason and that reason, and have an exception to it. I don't know. You're always asked before, declare what you're taking. Okay. So it might be nose spray, you've had a cold, whatever it is, because it can trigger off certain steroids, certain nose sprays. I've had that in the past and things like that. But ultimately, whatever is on that doping list should not be being taken. And I understand that the rule is in competition and out of competition, so you might have been using it before you went into training camp to cut weight. Then declare it. Then say that before you're tested and you're tested positive. But ultimately, you can only go by, it's on the list, so it's banned, so you can't fight. I have a hearing for, not a sympathy, there's a big difference with me. I can listen to the argumentation around it, and I can follow certain parts of it, but once again, black and white, on the list, ain't happening. And that's unfortunately the rules. If you don't like that rule, by the way, make a protest before and say, look, I want to take this here because it shouldn't be on the list, it shouldn't be this, it shouldn't be that. It wasn't which is the ones that I think that people should be going to prison for, it wasn't a substance which was, basically putting a stone in his glove. And that is the equivalent when people talk about certain type of steroids. There are certain steroids, you might as well put a horseshoe into the guy's glove. It's the same. And by the way, for a horseshoe and a glove, you go to prison. Yeah? But if I fuel a guy up with something that increases his punching power by 30-40%, yeah? I mean, the craziest doping cases in the past, I mean, there's been some guys who've been caught doping with stuff where you don't get knocked out. You might as well go jump off a building, especially certain weight classes, in certain fights. One opponent of Vitaly Klitschko once got caught with it. I can't remember which one it was, but I mean, who would box Vitaly Klitschko with a steroid to keep you from getting knocked out? I mean, the body gets knocked out for a reason, because you're knocked out. So, that's it. So doping is something that obviously feel very strongly about in boxing, but on this case, unfortunately, you do go by the rules. You have to go. That's why that list is there. I mean, there's things on that list. I mean, marijuana is on that list. Yeah, I mean, if my opponent was smoking marijuana before the fight, I'd be jumping up and down for joy. Yeah, but he's doped. So does that help him? Absolutely bloody not. But that's what it is.
Anyways, a night later, we saw David Haye return and call out Tyson Fury straight away after his fight. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, David and Joe had the fight. Okay, fair enough. I've got to admit, I did like seeing Haymaker to have his ring walk, and it sort of brought back some good memories of our shows together. But it was an exhibition bout. I mean, back with the brothers. That's all cool. I don't know where David is physically. You'd have to ask him that. I think, at the time when you had the Bellew fights, he certainly, it was like his body wasn't holding up. I think David in his prime was such an athlete. Yeah. But he does keep himself. I mean, we message each other quite often in lockdown about training and training programs. I mean, one thing he is seriously fit and seriously strong still. And let's not make any mistake about that. Can you read into the fight with Joe Fournier? Not a thing, in my opinion, not a thing. But David has been around the sport long enough to know where he stands, and I can't judge. He had a lot of physical problems before, especially the second fight against Tony, and I don't know. Has he prepared that? I can't. It's down to David to answer. I mean, David's certainly not too old to be considering a comeback. Yeah, there's. I can give you plenty of examples of people who've done it much later. And he's always kept himself fit. But I don't know where he stands to that. Is it in a different place. I know he always fancied the fight against Tyson, and I know that there was at the time, it was a serious amount of bad blood. It was actually Filip Hrgović who gave him the cut back then, which stopped the fight. Not that we take any credit for that at all, because I couldn't wait for that fight. Great build up, proper heavyweight night, and could you do it now? I think I'm guessing that Tyson is looking to put an end to Wilder and then fight AJ. But you know, stranger things have happened in boxing, yeah. And would people buy into that fight? Not right now, but absolutely. By the time of fight night, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, on the same night, on a slightly more heavier note, we saw Evander Holyfield get stopped.
Well, you all did. I didn't, because I didn't watch.
I didn't watch it.
No,
I saw the highlights.
Yeah, I quite like what Triller's doing in terms of the general thing. I think they've got a quirky approach, and I think they've done a fantastic job on certain things. I think that one, matchmaking wise, wasn't a better moment. I also didn't quite understand an exhibition fight where the guy puts a guy through the ropes. I thought that was not supposed to be an exhibition fight, but you know, I mean, I promoted the last few fights of Evander's career, and he was fantastic even at the end. I mean, he was very very unlucky, not to get the decision over Valuev. And Valuev went on to fight HAYE in the next fight and lose that on points. And I just remember he was so fit. And then, you know, but he was always looking to that return to the ring. And I think Evander does a lot of work now outside the ring. So I don't think it was purely a financial one. It was, I think, you know, he is hooked on boxing, you know, and that's something, hopefully, that when I saw the images, I hope he reconsiders today, you know. I think he's such a great, absolute boxing hero of mine, and was one of the greatest boxers we've had the absolute privilege of ever promoting.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know if you watched the highlights, but it was just a bit of a sad scene.
Just saw that picture of him, that was enough for me.
Mm. Okay, well listen, KALLE SAUERLAND, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV.
It's a pleasure.
Congratulations on your new signings, Nathan Gorman, Josh Kelly and Harlem Eubank. We look forward to seeing them out very soon.
Absolutely, and you hope you have a really, really bad time at the bridge tonight.
I think we'll be fine. It's only Zenit.
It's terrible. I can't make up whether it's worse talking to you as a Chelsea fan or Coogan as an Arsenal fan.
It's got to be as a Gooner, surely, for real.
But we got you this weekend, so I'm not looking forward to
that.
Yeah,
3 points at Tottenham, hopefully.
Well, I wish I could say different right now, but I'm not too confident.
Kalle, appreciate your time, and roll on October 2nd.
Thank you, Umar.